Everything comes down to story. You've heard me say this before, so what makes this video different? I will break it down in 3 different sections. 1, perception and storytelling, the narrative that you give things and how you see the world both go together way more than we care to admit or way more than we're taught to believe. 2nd, storytelling taps into your intuition, taps into that voice from the depths, that part of you that you don't really recognize, you don't really understand, that calls to you. And 3rd, how those 2 things go together to make you more powerful, to make you unstoppable against every bit of resistance that comes both from within you and from outside of you. I really want to dig into this. This is so important. There are so many kind of nice ways of talking about this where we say, like, how we speak to ourselves, and if you believe it and you want to manifest it, and like there's been multi-million dollar, euro businesses made off this just one message of how important it is to tell you your own story and how you can, if you believe it, you'll achieve it, and every other trope and fuzziness. But for those of us who have heard all of that and who are still just like, yeah, that feels a bit fuzzy, exactly what does it mean? Okay, we're going to zoom in and zoom out to kind of try and understand this a bit better. On a real basic level, I want you to try and think of like a baby and how everything is just a blur. Like literally they can't see for the first couple of weeks and all the rest. But like imagine you don't understand everything and then you start to realize, ooh, rattle. Okay, I can eat that. And those 2 things go together. And ooh, drink, I can drink that. Ooh, I can grab that. Like whatever it is, you are understanding things through how you work with it. Okay, so what I want to say there at that point is that the whole world could be a blur, and how we differentiate the trees from the grass, from the wall, from the building, from the car is the story that we give it. This is for protection. This soaks up the sun. This is for transport. That is how we differentiate between different things. Okay, maybe that's a bit abstract. Let's zoom out. Let's go into the abstract, into my realm of existence. And let's talk about what if we were giants? What if we were ginormous? And ask, how would we see the different cars? Okay, I know that's a real kind of boys sort of question there, but would we care about the difference between a Ferrari and a Lamborghini? Or would we care about the difference between... Okay, I'm not going to throw out the titles here just in case I get in trouble, or just because it doesn't actually matter. But we wouldn't. We would just see sports car, pretty looking car, family car. Like we would abbreviate it. We would shorten it down. We would care a little bit less. Or we would just say car. If we were giants and they were things on the floor, they are just a trip hazard. That is what they are, and I don't need to name them. I don't need to understand them. I don't need to understand the sense of vitality that a Jaguar gives versus a Ferrari. I don't need to understand those 2, the nuances between those different felt experiences, because for me, they're not relevant. As a giant, I'm too big. They don't fit into my story. They don't engage with me. Therefore, the story that belongs to them, like that, it doesn't register. They are simply a trip hazard, or they are a little toy car. Think of the houses, the buildings. Again, think of your Lego. Think of any small toys that you had when you were growing up, when you were getting older, and you would have just said big rich mansion or small little family house. Like we, in our real world, in our felt experience, we have a lot more tiers. We have small bungalow. We have like a detached, semi-detached. We have different versions, and we have different stories about what type of life fits into those different places. Okay, that might seem a little bit abstract. So maybe I played around with you a little bit too much and I brought you into this strange world. Okay, let's bring you into your world. I don't know if you can do this. I don't know whether you can name the different types of rocks in the world. Whether you know the difference between sandstone and limestone and granite and marble and all of these things. Now that you're thinking about it, you might kind of click a few differences. But What about the difference between quartz and amethyst? They are two different types of rocks. What about the difference between limestone and sandstone or slate? Like, what are the differences? I don't know. And you might start to notice here that as you differentiate, oh yes, limestone is the one that the water can trickle through. Slate is the one that we use for roofs. Marble is the one that we make at the countertops and it has that nice design. How you name them, how you perceive them, is instantly the story that you give them, either how they were formed or what we use them for. Okay, so think of to prove this point, or to try and illustrate this point, I want you to imagine yourself at the side of a river with a plethora of stones around you, all different colours, all different sizes, all different textures. Do you know the name of each of them? No. Well, for me, I don't. I'm projecting onto you here right now, but for me, I don't know the name of them. They are a stone, and they are good for skimming, and they are sore on my feet perhaps, or they're nice and smooth, or whatever it is, but they fit a story. Now, the minute I start giving them names and look at this, and this is onyx, and this is again, limestone. I should have done more research. I don't know that many stones, if I'm being really honest, hence the inspiration for this. But I don't know that many names. And therefore, and the reason I don't is because I don't have a story for each of them. I don't know how the rock formations formed, whether they were done through pressure, whether they were done through tectonic plates or through oceanic forces, or whether it was done through volcanic eruptions. I don't know the story, but if I did, I would know the name. And if I knew the name, I would know the story. Those two come together. Okay, so I'm going to leave that one there. I'm going to move on to point number 2, which is that your story that you tell yourself is what makes you tenacious. It is what makes you unstoppable to disrupting forces, to resistance, whether it is from within you or from without you. So if you do see the world as a story, you have to see your place in that story, how you fit into it and how you move and what calls to you. So imagine, there are many different stories, and I'm going to give a few examples here. Think of the famous ones, Elon Musk, Steve Jobs, or Jeff Bezos, or these kind of CEOs, these big ones, whoever the leader is, or the CEO. I only just watched them recently for OpenAI, for the ChatGPT. There are these CEOs, these figures. You have Jack Dorsey from Twitter. You have all of these CEOs. They have a myth about them. They have some sort of presence, some sort of thing, because what they did, why they're so successful, is they reached into the unknown of the future. They believed in something so much, even when others didn't, and they held it, and they brought it into the present. They realized it. They actualized it. They manifested it. How did they do that? Did they do it by thinking about what t-shirts would work best for different places, different things? No. Famously, Mark Zuckerberg and Steve Jobs both wear the same t-shirt every day because they don't care. They don't want to put the time into making small decisions like that. That's not what they're there for. And why do they do that? And why are they so obsessed with work? And why are they a bit maybe antisocial? Why are they so just kind of driven? Why are they so intense when they're talking? What is that? It is because they are reaching for a story that is bigger than them. Again, for your example, Steve Jobs wanted a computer in every home, that every home would have access to this technology. Facebook is that you wanted everyone to be connected. Jeff Bezos, you wanted anyone anywhere to be able to sell or buy anything to anyone anywhere. Just wanted free market worldwide. That is a big dream. That is a story. That is something powerful. That's world changing. That's world dominating. And guess what? He got dominated by it. That is the thing. For every resistance, every time, every day that they did not feel like getting up because they were tired, because they were sore, because family stuff was going on, because the friends needed them, or because da 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 da. Yes, all of those things have to be done. And I'm not trying to say to neglect family or to neglect friends or to neglect your health. But what I am saying is that those things come up frequently, and that sometimes we need to have priority. We need to have the drive to help the friends and then get straight back to it. Or we need to have the drive to achieve that first and then offer the help, whichever one fits in. But see, the thing is that you are no longer consulting yourself. You are not consulting your morality or your mental framework. You're not trying to justify it, because the minute you have this big dream that you are holding on to is the minute you start dialoguing, you start speaking to that. That becomes your God, essentially. But that becomes this aspiration, and you start negotiating with it. This is what makes you unstoppable. This is what makes you powerful. This is what makes you tenacious. This is what makes you intense. This is what makes you driven. And this is what gets stuff done. And that is internal and external. So again, some sort of disruption comes along from the outside. Do you know what? It doesn't matter. I lost my phone. I don't care. Let's keep going. I could be upset about that for a long time. I could lose something personal, something that I had as a child. I could lose all of these things. And sometimes that can be crippling. And then other times it doesn't matter, because I've something that I'm grabbing onto, and this is just everything. It is obsession. So hopefully I've got you to understand both of those two things. Third is that this taps into intuition. This taps into that call from the depths, that thing that calls to you, because the minute you have that story, the minute you have that thing that's beyond you that you're consulting, and it's like, hey, can I help my friend? Hey, can I make time can I sleep in this morning? Can I eat this food? Can I not drink the water? Can I go out and have a drink tonight? Or like whatever else it is. The minute you start consulting that as a counselor, as someone that you give authority to, is the minute that it starts speaking to you from somewhere unknown. As you were walking through and you were talking to someone, ooh, that's an interesting link, that you might be able to network them with someone else, or they just spark your curiosity. What do you think about this project that I'm doing? Like, just with what you said there, you mentioned, to make it like a concrete example, you mentioned friends and the connection with friends and how that's important for community. That community should feel kind of like friendship. How does that link into this project? So for me, these workshops that I'm trying to do, what do you make of those? If you had to force those two together, what would your thought be? Now, I wouldn't ask that question if I was being super logical all the time. I wouldn't ask that question if it was just me kind of analysing and critiquing and just focusing on the details. No, that question comes from my stomach, comes from the depths, comes from that which I've given authority to and which I dialogue with, I talk to. And it speaks, it whispers. Or some part of me speaks and whispers. Or intuition is a crazy thing. So, what is intuition? Yes, okay, I'm using this word and it sounds very magical and very just fluffy and fairy and all the rest. Exactly what is intuition? Okay, for all intents and purposes, intuition is a wide net with not too much accuracy. And then your conscious mind is accuracy with kind of a narrow scope. So I can focus on a single problem and I can get like high resolution accuracy on that. Intuition is when you have a wide problem, a story, the future, some of these things that are complex. They are like, you can't put it into that narrow funnel. It doesn't fit. It doesn't work that way. You can't just analyze and get your dream. You can't analyze your way into the future. It doesn't work. So you have this wide net and it speaks to you and it makes these random links and it makes these errors and it makes these things that stretch you and pull you and make you more. They can make you fall, they can make you make mistakes because yes, of course your intuition can be tricked, but so can your vision with optical illusions. And you still trust that, don't you? Like 99% of the time, it's accurate. So intuition, 95% of the time, it's accurate. Doesn't matter. It is a force. It's there regardless. Use it. What I really want you to get is that intuition calls from the depths. It calls from an embodied state. It demands action. It is not like your cognitive processes where you can rationalize. Yeah, that makes sense. I should give up smoking, give up drinking, go exercise, contact my friend, da 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 da. All the promises that we make up here. And they don't always happen. But intuition is this call, is this demand, is this judge, and you must, and if you do not, you shall repent. Intuition is embodied. It demands a force. It is a force. If you understand, so I want you to link all of those together. If you understand that how you perceive the world, how you see the world is through story. You cannot see the glass without understanding it is for drinking. You cannot see the tree without understanding it is what soaks up the sun. It is for the birds. It is a nice place to sit under. Whatever your story is for it. I'm not saying we all have the same story. I'm not trying to argue for a singular reality here or anything like that. I'm trying to say that how you perceive it, you name it. That's a willow tree. The reason I know that is because it droops. And I like staying under that canopy. I find that beautiful. That is an oak tree over there. And I like that because it is meant to symbolize strength and it has its own kind of story. And every other tree, I don't know. The conker tree, I used to play conkers. The sycamore tree with the little airplane seeds, I remember those. They're connected to memories. They're connected to stories. The reason I know the name is because of story. If you can link that to the fact that you need a story, you need something bigger than yourself to sacrifice yourself into, to make yourself move. Because if you do not, if you are simply within yourself, then you can only move because it's rational. And that doesn't work. And that's a really big reason why everyone is withdrawn and or depressed and or anxious. Like no. To be vital and to have tenacity is to something bigger where you are aspiring to it. And then third is that intuition, that it calls. It is an embodied call. It is not that rational thing. So everything is story. We need a story to be bigger than ourselves, and intuition is that thing that calls. Once we have the story, it taps into that power. If you understand those, you understand just how powerful story is. So for today, I'm going to give you a small wee exercise that is called the flash. This is first thing in the morning or whenever you do it really, but first thing is fun. Pick anything in your room, anything at all, it does not matter. And I want you to think of the first sensation or expression or experience that happens when you look at that. Look at the window, what is the first thing? Look at the blinds, look at the wall. It doesn't matter, this can be mundane as anything. This wall makes me think of a time when I was just sitting down I was just so tired, I was exhausted. That's what it makes me think of. In this moment right now, that's the image that came up into my mind. And I can remember the weight on my shoulders and feeling sad and that heaviness in my chest. And I can almost feel a cry come out. I can almost feel that breath being shallow. That is a story. I want you to start tapping into these stories. So this is that exercise. It's called the flash. Basically, it's the first thing that flashes to mind. You don't look for a reason for it. You don't look for a deep, meaningful story or anything like that. No, you're just looking for a moment, an experience, and you want to tap into that because we are force-fed stories all the time. And I mean this at every fucking level. Again, everything is a story. So I mean movies and TV shows, yes, but I mean advertising. That, as I said at the very start of this video, Jaguar or Porsche or Lamborghini or whatever, they offer a certain story. A certain type of person drives that certain type of car. You are rich, cool, swag, you are slick, you are business, you are whatever else when you drive that car. You are free when you drive the motorbike. It is a story, it is a promise. We are constantly being fed this. And our power for our own story and recognizing it and having tenacity and having vitality, it has to come from us. It has to be our story. So this exercise is specifically for that, to tap to restart what has been lost. And that was my felt sense when I started doing this exercise. It was a restart of what has been lost, because my imagination wasn't clicking, wasn't going. My dreams have become drastically more vivid since doing all of this. Strange. But that's the exercise for today. That flash, it's a creative writing exercise. It's for storytellers, poets, that sort of thing. But for today, I want it as like a personal development sort of exercise, just to get you to restart your engine, restart your imagination, restart your own personal storytelling ability, where you are the main character, where you are the hero of the story, where you grab onto something that is bigger than you and you say, that is what I want to bring into this world. And every time resistance comes from within you, that you do not feel like it, that something comes up, you say, do you know what, not today. Maybe not all the time, obviously, give yourself the break, but that you have the capability, you have a dialogue. I'm not trying to say you give up your own voice, but I'm saying you have a dialogue with something bigger. Someone else comes to you and asks for your help. I'm sorry, but I'm going for this big thing. It's nothing personal. It's not even coming from me. It's coming from this big thing, and it's tapping into this intuition, this embodied sort of thing from your stomach, where the world becomes like, possibilities become more alive for you, because this intuition is whispering in your ear. It is saying, hey, what if you tried this? Wouldn't that be interesting? What about? And it is just calling to you. It is speaking to you. It is making these mistakes and errors, but it is making connections also. It is stretching your headspace. It is opening up the blinkers, opening up the blinders, making you less on autopilot, perhaps. That is the power of story. So, I hope you've had a great week. I hope you're excited for the next one. I hope you have a story that is drawing you forward through time and space towards the good, the true, and the beautiful. Because these stories have to be beautiful. They have to attract you. They have to be true. They have to hit reality. Otherwise, it's a fantasy. And they have to be good, because we're all the hero. We are all the good guy. We are all the main character of this story. So, with love as always, I hope you are having a great time, a great experience. I hope you're having fun, and I hope you're excited for what's to come. I will see you next week. Bye, guys.